Hello, this is Jacob Jenkins reporting another story. This is going to be the remake of The Muscle Kid. So sit back and enjoy. Once there was a big Samoan kid named Ralph. He was 10 years old, and at first his life was just about perfect, had a good dad and everything. Then all of a sudden, his parents got divorced. And his mother married a man that was not so good, was all rich and everything, but was always mean to Ralph. But was always mean to Ralph. And he had two daughters that were mean to him too. Every day they would make him do terrible chores and do all the work while they sat down and watched TV and did nothing all day. And it kept on happening until it got to the point where Ralph couldn't take it anymore, so he decided to argue right back at them, refused to do any work, and just ignored them for the rest of his childhood. During his childhood, at his age of 10, he played a lot of sports. At first, he did track. Heck. After that, it was swimming. Heck. After that, it was shot put. Then he did three sports. When he was 10, he did track. When he was 11, he did shot put. When he was 12, he did swimming. And at the age of 13, he did basketball. And all through his teenage years, he did football. He was the nose guard, and he tackled that quarterback every time he got. Every year during his high school years, he led his high school football team to the championships. And during all those years, he made a lot of friends that were black, that were both black and white. And there was this one black girl who really liked him, but she didn't let him know it yet. And his family never went to any of his games. Anyways, during those years, he played all those sports until finally he had to graduate from high school. And finally he went to college. Which never spoke to his family again. One time when he was in college, he was doing wrestling. Then one day, an owner of a wrestling company came to see him. Would you like to wrestle in my company? He asked. Ralph agreed that he wanted to do it. And so he goes into training, getting himself all fit and everything. Cause Ralph is a big guy, kind of like I am, but he's also very strong and very healthy. He's a big fat guy, but very strong and very healthy. And so, Ralph says he'll take the job, and and in no time, as he went in, he started winning a lot of matches. And was on his way to being champion. Yeah. Yeah. And his parents and them, but his family and him, they never spoke. They wonder. Ralph wonders still how they're doing. Like, are they still getting into trouble and everything? And how's his stepfather's company going? He doesn't really know because he never calls them. You see, Ralph tries calling them a few times, but nobody picks up. So after that, he just gives up. So Ralph goes on with his wrestling career and everything. One day, though, Ralph decided to look up on the internet to see if his real father was still around. He found out that his real father was in Africa. And he remarried a woman, an African woman, and they had a child, together that's at least eight. And Ralph sends a message saying, "Come over and visit sometimes." After that, he went back to his wrestling thing. Then one day, Ralph got a big surprise. It was his father and his new family standing at the door. Ralph was excited. And he just lets them in for dinner and stuff. And he got to and over that week, Ralph got to know his little sister a lot better. He noticed that his little sister just loved to laugh. So she started telling her jokes. And tickling her, making her slap her, making her eyes water, making her slap her knee, split her sides, and also making her belly button squeeze. And then the little sister, the new little sister from her father's new family said, "It's so great to have a big brother like you." Ralph wishes his stepsisters would have said the same. Then one day, Ralph wins another match. A few days ago, Ralph wins another match, and all of a sudden, as he was leaving to his locker room, a big guy walked past him, giving him the evil eyes. And so, Ralph kind of froze as he walks by. Afterwards, he asked Diego, that's the owner, who was that guy. That's Herman. Herman Payne. He's our company's champion. Hopefully you'll never face him because he'll just I don't think you should go on, Ralph, because if you keep going like this, then in a few days, he's the one you're going to be facing. Ralph says that's fine. Fine. Just because he's big and everything doesn't mean that I'm going to lose. Sized, Diego tries to talk him out of him, but Ralph says, size do not make a difference. It's all about heart and faith in yourself. Diego calms down and smiles at Ralph. Ralph gets dressed and says goodbye. When Ralph got home to his apartment, he looked back on the internet again and found out that Herman was his brother. Ralph goes and asks his father, "Do you know anything about my brother Herman?" Herman? His father looks at him with a bad look and says, "Yes. You see, Herman, back before you were born, Herman was treated the same way you were by your mother. So, ever since then, he's closed off from everybody. He didn't want to make any friends or spend time with any family. All he wanted to do was just be left alone and just wanted to improve in wrestling." He showed him a picture of Herman, of what he looked like. He showed Ralph a picture of Herman, of what he looked like before he rejected his own heart. Well, Ralph said, "I'm not going to lose to him. I'm going to take it and win the championship." You see, he just doesn't understand how to take it like a man. I took it like a man when my mom and my stepsisters were mistreating me. But it's time he learns that too. Time to teach him a lesson. So the next days, Ralph wins his matches, and finally, the next day, the main event. Ralph faces his brother, and so Ralph looks at him with a determined glare in his eyes, as the brother looks with an angry glare in the evil eyes. He's lies. And so, the match begins. Ralph was having trouble with his brother at first, always got thrown around and everything. Ralph was having trouble at first, but then Ralph got up with all of his strength, and then his body changed. It turned into all muscle, and Ralph started getting the better of the match. Started throwing his brother around and everything. It kept happening until his brother couldn't get up anymore. Because you see, the wrestling company Ralph and his brother are in, it's only relied on momentum alone. Not all the fake wrestling you see on TV. And so, Ralph gets the 1-2-3 on him and wins the championship. The brother was about to leave in a sad face. Ralph goes and talks to him about the problems he's been through with mom and everything. That cheers the brother up, and they become close, like brothers should. And they become close, like brothers should be. 5 years later, Ralph was still champ. Ralph would go undefeated as champion. Yeah. Yeah. But then that day, who would knock on the door but his stepsisters? But one of his stepsisters named Simone. What do you want, Simone? Said Ralph. We need you to come take over the company. And why should I? Said Ralph. My father died. He had a really bad asthma attack. We called the ambulance and we tried everything and called the ambulance and everything, but there was just nothing they could do. There was just nothing they could do for him. Please come and take over the company. Ralph thought about it at first. And he decided this and learned something from what his father and brother and him talk about. You gotta learn to forgive and forget. You gotta forgive the ones who hurt you, or they have too much power over you, and they don't deserve it. And so Ralph decided that he is going to do it, that he is going to take over his father's company. So he relinquishes the championship to Diego and goes back to his hometown of Texas. No, Idaho, to take over his father's company. His stepfather company was also a wrestling company. So Ralph makes it so it's relied on momentum alone. For that wrestling company is relied on momentum alone. And it made a whole lot more money. Ralph was making a whole lot more money than his stepfather did. Billions. Or trillions. Ralph's wrestling company was now the highest paid company in the world. And that, my friends, is the story of the Muscle Kid. The end. Hit subscribe if you want to hear more stories or songs. And remember, the people that hurt you, you gotta learn to forgive them and forget. Otherwise, you give them too much power over you, and they do not deserve it. This is Big Jake signing off. Peace out.